But we are live. We are live, so StreamYard is telling me, and who am I to argue? On this fabulous platform today, you may be experiencing this show from a number of places. You could be in the John Hicks Marketing Facebook group. Hello. You could be in the Client Attraction Facebook group. You could be on the Johnny Cooper Global Facebook page. Hello. You could also, bizarrely, I still haven't got used to this yet, you could be watching on LinkedIn and come across this on my LinkedIn profile because I can see it's live. And I'm also watching on my other screen here, Siawash, that the LinkedIn auto captioning is being totally incompetent and just writing rubbish on the screen like it does. But we're also streaming this into Twitter. Into my Twitter account. Not that anybody watches anything on my Twitter account. How about you, Siawash? Where have you shared it? Where is it going?
I just shared it into my group. We have a community of 1,400 coaches,
wonderful,
consultants, therapists.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And on the profile, that's the beautiful thing about, I think it's a gift, really.
It really is. Yeah, it really is. This StreamYard platform is just amazing. I have to shout out to StreamYard actually, because StreamYard are officially one of the sponsors of the JHM group, and we use StreamYard for all our live streaming. Just turn the volume off there. So brilliant. Well, look, welcome, Mr. Zahmat. It's been absolutely ages, hasn't it? Is it 3 years since we spoke, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a week. 1 or 2 weeks ago, it's exactly 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you've moved forward a bit. Then what's always impressed me about you is that you're almost the antithesis of the sort of hustle and grind about marketing, about getting yourself out there. Your work's always seemed a lot more organic, and people find you and sort of come to you and ask to work with you. Am I underplaying that? Is there actually a lot of marketing work goes on in the background?
Good question. Well, I'll be very honest. There has definitely been a lot of hustle at the beginning of my journey.
All right.
And it was because I didn't really have a clear understanding of what I need to do on a daily basis and weekly basis to grow the business.
Yeah.
But I realized quickly that that's not going to get me far. Like, I was making money, but again, I would look back to my year and it's like, hey, I made 50K in my first year. And I was like, well, can I repeat that?
Yeah.
Right. And I realized like, okay, that's not really the way forward. Right. Marketing has been an important part, but I think in the first few years, it was very sporadic, right? And in the last few years, I've really made it my mission to just master all these different parts of the business, from sales, marketing, and coaching.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And I think you've proven the old adage, that it's no longer sufficient to be the best at what you do. You need to be the best marketed as well. And I remember you spent some time, I think this is where we met actually, wasn't it? Hanging out with our good friend Simone Vincenzi, who's really good at all this stuff. And, I learned some of the foundational aspects of our business from Simone. I'm unashamed to declare that. What would you say, from this first year when you got 50K of business, if you weren't marketing very well at that point, how did that come about? Or was that kind of just people who found you, or networking? What would you say as a starter was working for you?
Well, it was just really like putting myself out there. It was very uncomfortable. My very first coach, I remember, he told me, just go live every day, post 5 times a day. And while there wasn't a lot of clarity for me in terms of what to do, you know, just actually putting myself out there helped. Okay, your screen is frozen. Can you hear me, Johnny? Hope. Not sure if it's on my side. Okay, I think
we're back. I don't know what happened there. That's bonkers.
It just shows. Yeah, I think the screen was frozen for a second.
Yeah. So we got to the point where you know, I was asking you in that first year, you know, to get rolling, what were you doing to get people around you?
Yeah, good question. You know, I was just putting myself out there, right? It was messy, and you know, and I think that's important. You know, that you just have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to take imperfect action. Yeah, again, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. Like, Johnny seems frozen. I'm not sure if it's my internet.
Do you know what? There's something the matter with the StreamYard servers today, because it's not my end. We have a very hyperactive internet connection here. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. We have. I mean, no, the connection is green on this side. I got a little booster here. Might be that there's just something else in the air.
Yeah, who knows? It's a real shame, isn't it? I'm going to turn the Wi-Fi off on my phone in the outside chance that it's anything to do with this, but I'm sure it isn't. Yeah, so we didn't get an answer to that question yet. So you started out, you got rolling, 50 grand in your first year, which, you know, a lot of starter coaches would die for, basically. You know, that's a good result, isn't it? Can you remember how you put that together? Because that's like 4 or 5 years ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, I do remember it. You know, I think the main thing for me was, you know, I put myself out there every single day and got into conversations every single day.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't very good at sales. I wasn't very good at marketing, but I was willing to be messy, right? And, you know,
Yeah.
that
Just pause there for a minute, folks. Because if you're watching this, that is a golden nugget. Write that down. Willing to be messy. Willing to be messy. What does that mean to you in real terms? So you're willing to be go out into the world without any real structure. In other words, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I think for me it meant that I knew that I love listening to Jim Rohn. A lot of people in the personal development world probably heard from him. And he mentored the likes of Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn said something, right? He said, look, if you just knock on 10 doors and you can get one person to sign up into whatever you do, right? You have 1 out of 10. And if you keep doing that, and slowly you get better at it, and you get 2 out of 10. And that's that's how I looked at my business. I said, hey, you know what? I'm not really good at this enrollment thing. I'm not good at sales and marketing. Let me speak to 10 people.
Yeah.
And, you know, what I remember my numbers from the first 45, 46 conversations I had, right? The first 10, 15 didn't sign up. But then from the 45 in total, 45, 46, I signed up 15 clients.
Yes.
Right? And that created the majority of my income. And I noticed that, hey, you know what? From every 4 or 5 people that I do make a proposal to, they end up signing up. And the numbers start, you know, I start seeing a pattern in the numbers.
Yes.
And so the first year was a lot around numbers. And then I realized, okay, you know what? It's not just a numbers game. I can actually get better at the skills. So especially the second and third year, my focus shifted from, okay, you know what? It's about just the hustle, putting myself out there. Let me actually focus on the skill.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what really made a big difference.
Yes. That as Rich Litvin says, you know, if you want to be a coach, just coach. That's how you get really good at coaching, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just coaching more and more. No, it's interesting, isn't it? It seems to me you didn't really approach it to start with as a sales and marketing task. It was just having a few conversations task, wasn't it?
Mm. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's interesting you mentioned Rich, right? I think in the last conversation that we had, I was just exposed to their work, and I thought, hey,
Yes.
you know what? If I want to master this, I need to go deeper. So I end up working 2 years with Steve Chandler as part of his school, and I
That's
hired
right.
hired Rich for 7-8 months, and again that gave me a deeper understanding of you
Mm.
know a deeper understanding of how I can create a successful coaching business in
Mm.
with that philosophy around like building relationships and really coaching people rather than just doing a discovery process where it's only about talking about
Mm.
how I can help you. And this is the beautiful thing, Johnny. I think I realized over the years that there are so many different ways to build a business, right? Just kind of have to find out like what feels fun for you, right?
Yeah.
I love coaching, so I thought, hey, you know what? I love coaching, so let me do it this way. So I usually coach people and give people an experience of how it is to work with me.
Yeah.
And after, a few sessions, people usually have a good idea of what they can get.
Yes. Yeah. I've got another question for you, which is connected with something I heard Rich say recently. He said nobody wants coaching.
Yeah.
Nobody wants coaching. Now one of those lovely contrarian headlines, isn't it, from a master coach? What do people want instead, in your view, Siawash, if not coaching? And how do you position that to them without offering them coaching, if you like?
Yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And this is actually a big distinction. Like I think a golden nugget really, like if people really understand it, because on
It's
one
tough to
side,
understand, isn't it, on the outside?
yeah, 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 it is. It on one side you have the coach, right? The coach falls in love with his program, and his way of doing things, right? And really wants to enroll people into that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I got these coaching skills, I can help you with it. I got this program that's gonna take you from, A to B, right? But on the
Yeah.
other side, you have the person, the potential client. And the potential client, the only thing that this person thinks about, right? She's thinking about like, hey, can this person help me? I got these problems and I want to solve these problems, or I got this goal and I want to achieve this goal. So there's two
Yeah.
people actually talking to each other, and they both have different intentions, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
as a coach, the moment we kind of let go of all these thoughts around what we do and what we have to offer, and we actually just get clear on what the other person wants, and we say, like, hey, I can help you, and we
Yeah.
come together, right? It makes that conversation really easy,
Yeah.
right? And I can tell you, like from experience, I've been very initially when I heard this, I thought, well, this sounds easy, but let me try this, right? And I've had people that sign up for packages, anything from like 5,000 all the way up to like 25, 50,000, 100,000, and actually they have no idea what they're getting into, like in terms of like how many hours and all the little moving pieces. The main thing
Yes.
that they get clear on is like, hey, this guy can help me, or this girl can help me.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, let's just pause there for a moment, because if you're watching this live or on the recording, what Siawash is referring to here is that people are buying an outcome
Yeah.
rather than the idea of working with a coach. They're buying the promise of an outcome. And what's interesting here, I mean, you threw a couple of numbers in there. £50,000. That they're not working with you for any specified number of hours. They're working with you for a bit to get a result. I think that's what you're saying. What's just lift the curtain a bit more. I mean, what does your £50,000 package look like broadly?
Yeah, for me that looks like a 1 year apprenticeship,
Yeah, I
right?
thought you were going
And
to say that. Yeah, 12
and
months.
with an
Yeah,
apprenticeship is deep coaching 101. It's a combination of coaching, mentoring, and supervision. Um, and again,
yeah,
I used to do that. I used to fall into that trap of like, hey, you know what? We can do weekly sessions, and I'm gonna throw in-person session, and
Yeah.
we can, get together on this,
Yeah.
every few months in a weekend. But I realized like people are not really interested in that, right? It's just again like, really slowing down to what people want. So for me, like, I run different groups, and that's my 101. I do that with 3 people a year.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that was just created as an experiment,
Mm.
right? And this is also just what's really helped me is the willingness to, like I said earlier, the
To
willingness to be
try
messy,
stuff.
but the willingness also to experiment, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if it's not on your menu, people won't ask for it.
That's right. I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, it's quite clear to me that life is just one big experiment. Most of us don't know what we're doing from 1 minute to the next, let alone in business. So you might as well just try stuff, and if it works, keep on doing it until it doesn't, and then try something else.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, what I've noticed, Johnny, is that, if you want to charge more, you just need to be able to solve a bigger problem, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
for me,
God, yeah.
like, if I think like, hey, I want to charge someone 50,000, then the problem needs to be worth 500.
Yeah, anybody watching this has heard me talk about the big expensive problem, the concept of the BEP, because big expensive problems lead to big expensive solutions, clearly, and this is exactly what I think you're saying here, Siawash. And in terms of coaching and therapy and whatever modality you're in, it seems to me that people who are a little bit higher up the ladder in terms of their career progression or their profession that they're in, or the size of their business, they tend to have bigger, more expensive problems than the average Joe, don't they? Than the general public. If you built a business that's doing £50 million a year or something, and you've suddenly had this massive kind of overwhelm, and you're feeling really exhausted and burnt out, you've got a lot to lose at that point, haven't you? The problem you're suffering with is a big, expensive problem at that point. And I'm a huge advocate of this, and I think I don't know if you agree, but this is the reason most coaches and therapists don't earn an awful lot of money, is because they play too small. They just want to help anybody and everybody, and of course, sadly, no judgment here, but the general public on average doesn't have any money, really, do they?
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, I think, online you see a lot around like the high ticket model, and people talk about that. And again, I don't think it's really about, I don't see it so much as just a strategy, right? I think when you become really good at what you do,
Yeah.
right, there are a lot of opportunities for that. Right, because I'll give you an example. I had had a coach I was working with. He was from Hong Kong, right?
Right.
And he said, you know what, like, my goal is to earn 100,000, but he didn't feel challenged. He was very skillful at coaching, and he was charging 10,000, and I just put a little challenge to him, and I said, well, what if instead of focusing on 10 clients for 10,000, what if you try to create one client at 100? And he got all of a sudden his energy change. He said, hey, that sounds exciting. And within 2 months, he created that client.
Yeah.
And it came again from him, not so much focusing like, oh, who can pay me 100,000? It came again from shifting to focusing like, hey, what kind of problem do I need to solve for someone to invest that much?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And he met a business owner that was running a multiple 7-figure business, right? And he was able to add a lot of value there.
Yeah, that's wonderful, isn't it? Listen, if you're watching this live or on the recording, give us some hearts, give us some thumbs, or just say hi or something. We thrive on your energy. It's nice to know that there's somebody out there absorbing this. This is fantastic, Siawash, and I'm, you and I are completely aligned here. That it starts with you and your goals, doesn't it? Your intention, like you've just illustrated perfectly with this Hong Kong client. if you decide to do something and you put your life and soul and energy behind it, then you can do it. There's no reason why you can't. And you and I are both aware of the two Steves, Chandler and Hardison, and Steve Hardison has put himself in a position where he's the world's leading executive coach by his own description, and he can charge $1 million to work with someone, can't he?
Yeah, and actually, it's great you mentioned him. Like often people look at his prices and say,
"Oh, he's an icon, isn't he? Absolutely."
Yeah. Why would someone do that? I actually had a session with him in January, and it's $10,000 for 2 hours. Right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, like those 2 hours were incredibly valuable.
Really? So you feel like you got more than $10,000 worth of value in 2 hours?
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? And I think actually this is really important for coaches to hear, because often we think like, well, if you want to charge so much, you need to have a business solution, like solve a business problem, right? And you need to be able to kind of like create a return of investment for people. It's not like that, right? Because I was reflecting, and by the way, I had to fly over to Arizona, USA.
Yeah, I know. He only sees people in his ranch, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I was reflecting and thinking like, hey, what shall I bring to him? And then I thought, you know what? Let me just get really present, and something useful will come up. And we ended up spending 2 hours just talking about my relationship with my wife. And I can tell you that in itself was worth 10 times the investment.
Wow.
Because it changed my marriage. Transformed my marriage completely.
Yeah. It's incredible, the power of such deep coaching, isn't it? Without going into too much detail, can you just give us a flavour for how that works? I mean, what did he say? What did you say? How could you get such an insight in such a short time?
I think one of the things is, for me, that 2 hours felt like it was 4 or 5 hours. Like one of the things, and I think that's about mastery. He wasn't using some special techniques or tools, right?
No Jedi mind tricks then.
Yeah, exactly. His level of presence, right? For me, it just slowed down time completely.
Wow.
His level of presence, he doesn't make notes. He's just sitting there in front of you. So yeah, we were just very present with each other, and I think he noticed something, right? And then from one thing came to another, and the thing that I said to him, right, is that I'm doing really well in business. I'm doing really well in terms of like fitness, and I feel like I'm not showing up as my best self in my relationship, and it feels more like my work feels very effortless, but in my relationship it feels like there's a lot of effort that I need to do to just be the same person. And this is funny because and a lot of coaches, I think coaches, therapists probably can relate to this, because with our clients we're very present, we don't judge, we create a safe space. Sometimes I think it's quite hard to do that with our partners.
Yeah.
And I think he picked up on that, and just for me to really create a shift in that, it just made such a difference. I had a conversation with my wife the same day twice, and the things that she shared with me, she hasn't shared with me in 4 or 5 years. And by the way, like I thought we have quite a better than average relationship. I didn't think our relationship was that bad.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But what I realized is actually that it wasn't even close to where I thought. Often in our minds it's better than our partner thinks it is.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
But yeah, in terms of like, yeah, I can't share the exact confidential thing, but I can tell you that it's just, and that's the beautiful thing about coaching, right? Sometimes we try to look at it from a certain lens, and we just don't see what is actually happening. And I think a lot of us do that. Like I've bought so many books to improve my marriage. I've even tried out different therapy work, and some of it has helped, but nothing has really shifted it in such a way where it's completely transformed. And a lot of that came from who I am being.
Yeah.
Right. And that's again, that's also my coaching has very much shifted towards that. He coaches very much the person, not so much what's happening externally.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Did your experience with Steve out at his Arizona pad, has that improved your coaching skills as well?
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's incredible, isn't it? Just a couple of hours, plus all the days it takes to get there and back, of course, to Arizona. But
yeah. Well, you know what it is. I think it's helped me improve as a coach, but it's also helped me. Helped me. How do I explain that? It's improved my work in two ways. It's helped me improve myself as a coach, but it's also helped my clients, because I've been able to actually explain to them how they get more out of coaching. Because often, there are so many books written on like how to be a better coach.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like instructions on how to be a better client, right? and I realized like because I paid so much for that coaching trip, right? After I freed up the whole day after my session, and I went back to my notes, and initially I just scribbled some notes while I'm with him, and I end up making more and more notes. I have 17 pages of notes from this just one session. I've been over those notes 4 or 5 times, right? So
were you making notes during the session or afterwards?
Yeah, a lot of people don't do that, but I just wrote a few things here and there just to remember.
Nice. Yeah.
And then after that, I sat down and
filled it all out.
Put a story together.
All right. Well, for those of you who have just joined us, we're talking to Siawash Zahmat, who just triggered something in a message to me recently, where Siawash, you declared and sort of celebrated the fact that you've done 7 figures in your coaching business since you started. So that's over £1 million worth of revenue. It's not all about the money, is it? It's about the impact. But of course, the money is a sort of token of the impact that you're getting with people. Over how long? How long has it taken to get to that 7-figure level? How many years?
Yeah. Well, it was actually what we looked at is 1.2 million. $1.2 million. So it was in pounds. Okay. I think we are very close to it. Yeah. But $1.2 million in the last 3 years, and I've been a coach for 5.5 years.
Yeah, that's magnificent.
The reason I looked at the last 3 years is because the last 3 years actually we started in a different direction. So in the first 2.5 years, I probably did around 150K, something like that, as a life coach.
Yeah.
And the reason I shared it again, like I don't usually share a lot about my own numbers. I focus more on celebrating clients. But I think sometimes it's nice to share because while I don't think it really serves us to talk a lot about others, right? I think in the industry we see a lot of people. I think there's an abundance out there for every coach.
Of course, there is.
You can be a relationship coach, you can be a health coach, you can be a business coach, and you can succeed in this work.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what I see a lot is there's people that try life coaching and then say, you know what, I'm going to do business coaching because, that seems easier. It seems easier. And one of the reasons I thought I celebrate that is also because, just show people that, hey, you know what, we've been doing this for a while. We are walking our own talk, right? We're not just teaching something. We're actually doing it ourselves. And, we celebrated before we actually reached the million ourselves. We've helped clients create over 1.8 million. Yeah. And I think that for me, I'm much more proud of that, to be honest. And
I agree. The client results are everything. Yeah. So as we talked about already, when you first started out, you didn't really have much of a direction or a clue about sales and marketing. You were kind of picking up bits here and there. What changed, and what is your marketing strategy now, if there is one? How do you go about identifying and, as Rich calls it, creating clients?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, like what we do now, right? We focus on a few things. Like in marketing, I think they call it lead generation, right? For me, that's just, we focus on building relationships with new interesting people that we could help, right? So that's kind of like the lead generation part. And I think you have to do that as a business owner, right? Often it's good to start with your own network and who you know,
Yeah.
But then I think it's good to have some activities that you do that always brings new people into your world.
Yes.
Right. So we have some strategies that we use that connect us with more people. Right. And that, for example, like one of the things that we do and one of the things that we encourage our clients to do is find existing communities,
Yeah.
and not just go there to like just message people. It's like, because if you just message people without building a relationship, it's just knocking on a
Yeah.
door, right?
There's no
It's not,
context to it, is there? Yeah.
yeah, it's not very effective. Like,
Mm.
I think the whole idea is around, creating value for others, right? And then really building a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Once you kind of build that relationship, then from there, once the idea of like, once you give, then you can ask something, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first part. We do that in, in different Facebook groups where we really, add value. The second thing is we have our own group, right?
Yes.
We have our own group. And I think, again, with our own group, I don't just focus on like just marketing to them, right?
Mm.
Like one of the things, and I see this in your group as well, and I think it's great, is one of the main things that we do in our group is we create so much value for people that
Yes.
often we hear this like, hey, you guys create more value in this free group than we've experienced in people's paid
Yeah.
programs, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the obvious response to that is, yeah, just imagine what you'll get if you're a paying client.
Yeah,
It's even
exactly.
better. Yeah. This is a philosophy I learned off Seth Godin some years ago. I read just a little sentence. He said, "Give away your best work, and they'll pay you for the rest."
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
pretty cool, isn't it?
People need to, like, nowadays, I think people need to really experience your work, right?
Yeah.
There's a really lovely short marketing book. It's called Show Your Work, right? And it talks about that. It's very easy to just position yourself as an expert and only talk about that. But I think what's a lot more powerful nowadays, especially for coaches, consultants, therapists, is to then show your work. While you're, kind of like you document your journey and you give away all your work in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People need to kind of experience you, especially with, in the market that we live in, because people have a lot of choice, right?
Yeah.
When they experience you, they can actually see like, hey, you know what? I could work with this guy or this girl, but actually I connect with this person. And that's why also I really believe that, that that we don't have enough coaches, because it doesn't matter how good you are. Someone will just love your work and they connect with you. Someone else will love my work and connect with me, right? We want to show people our personality, right? And then I think the third part is, once we build a community, I think it's having different ways to invite people to the next step, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it could
Very
be
much.
it could just be opening doors to a call. Could be
Could
opening
be a
doors
workshop, couldn't it? Or a download, some kind
and
of
again
PDF.
experimenting with what feels fun, right? I love coaching, so I create different ways for people to experience coaching.
Yes.
Some of our clients,
Exactly.
they love teaching, so they create some models around that they can teach.
Yeah. Well, one of the biggest insights I had on that on that point was a marketer who told me a couple of years back. He said, "Whatever you do, just remember there are no dead ends for your clients. There isn't just one thing they're going to do and then they wander off into the wilderness and you never see them again. Always have a next step. Always have what we do next. And in digital marketing terms, this can be an upsell, a downsell, a side sell kind of thing. But wherever they are now, whatever they've done with you, just imagine the next thing that might be useful to them. And, make sure you offer it so that they kind of stay in the fold, which is good for you and your business, but it's good for them as well if they can continually get more from you and just see very clearly. And people like Rich are really good at this. They've got a whole stack of products and you can do one and then the next one, or you can go this way and this way. And you just kind of build this ecosystem. I mean, how many different ways are there people can work with you at this point?
Yeah, there are three ways people can work with me. And you know what it is, Johnny? I love that you say that, because I used to really struggle with that. I used to think like, oh, you know what? People will reach out to me and they'll figure it out. But I love this example of Starbucks, right? There's a clear place where you stand to choose what you want to order, right? You choose your coffee, you choose your tea, And then there's another place where you go where you actually pick up your coffee.
Right.
Right. And that's I heard this example from one of my business mentors. He said your business needs to be like that. People need to be clear, like, hey,
Yeah.
where can I find the menu, and where do I pay? Right? Where do I pay? Where can I find the menu? Where do I pay? And where do I kind of like get the
And where do I
delivery?
receive it? Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's like that. Like people need different places. Like to just people need to kind of have an idea of like, hey, what is the next step? And sometimes that's all we need to do is just make the next step clear to people.
Well, so Starbucks and the rest of them have got all this stuff off to a fine art, haven't they? You know, the lifetime value of the customer, the sort of LTV is really important. And this is why you get loyalty cards and apps to pay on with special vouchers in the wallet and all this kind of thing, just to keep people sticky. I don't think there's enough of that in our profession. You know, a lot of therapists particularly are content to have a couple of sessions with someone and then just let them go and never see them again, which just seems like a waste of all the effort that it took to enroll them in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Here's another thing. I saw this, someone recommended this book a while ago, and actually I've never read the whole book. And here's the fun thing, like I've hundreds of books. Some books for me is just about the title. And I have it actually over there and it's facing me. And the title is Never Lose a Customer.
Yeah.
I listened to the first hour of the book and I got the idea. Because
Yeah,
the book talks about a lot of big companies especially, and I see this with smaller companies, coaches, consultants as well. They spend so much time bringing a new customer in.
Yeah.
And then the moment the customer's in through the door, they just forget about it.
Take them for granted.
On the next person and the next person.
Do you know who's really rubbish at that? And they really shouldn't be. Insurance companies, particularly car insurance companies. So our car insurance has gone up this year. We've never made any claims. The value of the car has gone down a little bit, so it should be cheaper, right? But no, it's gone up 25%. When we shopped around for it to become a new customer of somebody else, it was way cheaper. That's just bloody stupid, isn't it? I mean, shouldn't you give your existing customers the best deal? I don't know. This makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think a good example is often when you want to leave, like you want to leave your Wi-Fi provider, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, we'll give you 6 months off price just to stay with us."
Yeah, well, that's what I did with Sky. Actually, Sky, I think I'm about 40% discount on all my Sky products now because I just keep telling them I'm going to leave. Do you know what? We've had a great discussion today, as ever, Siawash. It's been absolutely fantastic to hook up with you again. And, you know, kudos for sharing. Kudos for reaching those revenue levels. And thanks for sharing it with the community. I know we've all benefited from just you being here, listening to your ideas. Siawash, Zahmat, everyone. Just absolutely brilliant. Have a great weekend. We're going to do another show or two next week. I can't remember who's booked in, but we'll let you know in the various groups. Have a blessed weekend. What would perhaps be worthwhile just to finish off, Siawash, is if you could give us, of all the golden nuggets you've accumulated, give us your favourite. Give us one value bomb that will benefit this glorious community of coaches and therapists who are watching this show today.
Sure. I think that the biggest difference to my own business, and this is something that I share, you know, anyone that works with me or anyone I come across is, you know, just focus on becoming so freaking good that anyone comes across you, they're like, wow. You know, it doesn't matter how good your sales and marketing is. Like those things are important, the sales and the marketing.
Of course.
Whatever you do, whether you're a coach, you know, you're a therapist or consultant, just become so good they can't ignore you. And that's actually the title of a really great book. You know, that's what made the biggest difference for me is mastery, right?
Yes.
I didn't want to, you know, we live in a world where there's a lot of coaches, there are a lot of therapists, a lot of consultants, and it just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
You know, you can get good at marketing if you really want to stand out.
Yeah.
Become great at what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. I can't think of a better tip than that, guys. So here's a thought for the weekend. Get really, really, really good at what you do. Don't forget to focus on marketing, but be the best you can be. be so good that they can't ignore you. I love that. Fantastic. Can't top that, so we're going to leave it for now. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks, Siawash. Great to see you again. Have a good one. Bye.